So we're going to demonstrate starting up the Juki electronic zigzag machine and look at some of the features and how to get started operating it. So if we turn on the machine, we will notice that the electronic display lights up, and notice that there's an error message. And this is just telling you that the needle position is not correct. So we can fix that by just turning that until the red lines up with that little notch. And then now if we go back, take a look at that display again, we've got the go ahead to start sewing and a little bit of information. So we can see that this on the left is highlighted, and that is the standard zigzag. And we can look at that standard zigzag and notice that the width is 6. So that's some of the information that lets you know what the machine is set for, what kind of stitch. Let's take a look at threading. So if we follow the threading path, we'll notice that there's an initial guide, and then there's a pre-tensioning device, and the main tensioner is over here. And there's something unusual about this one. The thread actually goes around completely and then up halfway, so it's a 1.5 turn, and then follows up around the front part. And the take-up lever is a very unusual arrangement, and it goes through there and then back down through another set of guides and then into the needle. And keep in mind that the needle needs to be threaded from front to back and not through the side from left to right as you would in a normal stitcher. So the next things we're going to do is we're going to remove the bobbin and bobbin case, and then take a look at how that's set up and then reinsert it. So I'm just going to give you a quick look at what it looks like underneath here. So we've got a really cramped little compartment there that you have to reach into to get the bobbin. So it's a little bit tricky. So we've removed the bobbin and bobbin case, and so we're going to look at the bobbin case briefly. Notice that it's a little bit unusual in that it's got a series of slots. So it's got one here, it's got one here, it's got one here, and it's got one here. So let's put the bobbin in and see how we use those slots to get the thread properly set for sewing. So install the bobbin into the bobbin case. First thing we've got to do is use that first slot to get underneath this tensioning spring. So now it's under the spring, and if you pull that a little bit, you'll feel the tension. Now what's got to happen is you've got to go down, leave the thread under the tensioner, and go down the second slot and pull it underneath, and then pull it up on the very last slot over there. So let's pull that up, and then once you get to that point, your thread should be about 3 inches long, and actually at this point you're ready to install it. And when you do install the bobbin case, just make sure that this notched section is on the top. You've got this lever pulled out like that so that it doesn't fall out, and then you just have to come from behind underneath and then push it in, and you should hear a click to make sure it's firmly in place to where it should be. So before we begin sewing, I'd just like to demonstrate the foot lifting method in this machine. So if you'll notice under the machine, there's nothing. There's no knee lifter that you would find on a standard sewer, where you would push your knee sideways and pick up the foot. So this has got an electronic foot lifter, and it's operated by using the pedal, and you have to heel the pedal, kick. So push your heel down, and that actually operates the foot lifter. So when you click, as soon as you push your foot down, your foot will, the sewing foot will come up. So it's an automatic machine. It's got a lot of features. It's got thread trimming and a number of automatic features. Okay, well, let's try sewing. So we're just going to lift the foot up and put the fabric under. Just pick your heel back up, and it will just automatically drop. And then you just press the pedal as you would any normal sewing machine. And then you've got your zigzag stitch. And then, as I mentioned, it is an automatic machine. So if I kick the heel back, it's going to do a number of things. It's going to actually trim the thread and pick up the foot, so that you can actually pull out the fabric, and you don't have to snip it at all with the thread. It's completely automatic. Let's take a look at some of the adjustments that you can make. So if we go back to the control panel, notice that it's set for 6. That's the width of the stitch. Let's make it a bit smaller. Let's put it to, let's say, 4.5, and see what that looks like. At the same time, we're going to make a few adjustments in terms of the zigzag density. In other words, the width between each stitch. So that's adjusted with this dial here. So wider stitch is a higher number, and a tighter stitch is a lower number. So we'll just take a look at the size of the stitch and also the tightness of the stitches and see what that looks like. Okay, so we've adjusted the width of the stitch, so let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we see narrower stitch. Now let's adjust the density, the tightness of the stitch. So I'm going to make a tighter stitch. I'm going to set it to a little bit like around number 1, and let's see what that looks like. So we can see what that looks like. So these are a few of the basic adjustments that we make on the stitch, and there are a lot of other features that we will demonstrate in a different series of videos.